What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and for those of you who do watch my channel and don't realize this, I actually live in Georgia, so I do Chelsea reviews all the time, and I thought to myself, you know what? Since I'm going to start supporting, of course, hometown team, Atlanta United, I thought why not go ahead and start doing reviews on it as well? So, you know, I thought it sounded like a good idea. And if my voice is kind of gone, it's because I was yelling and screaming most of the night. um, yeah, actually being at the stadium instead of just watching it on TV, a lot of fun. And yeah, it's a great atmosphere, and I think that's what I'm start talking off first. Is just how amazing this club has been, just setting everything up, getting people pumped for this, getting the atmosphere set. It was all so exciting, and even like before the game started, just everybody's cheering, we're doing chants, and even the teams out on the field were cheering them on, and it's just like it was so good. MLS is not obviously as exciting or as intense or as fast paced as like the Premier League, but there are some teams that do have a good fan base, that do have a good following. I know just from seeing some fans here and there on Twitter and Facebook. I know like Oregon, Portland, Seattle. I know clubs over there, they have some really big fan bases that are really passionate about it. So seeing our club like this, seeing all of us just there and excited and pumped for the game, first MLS game, it was really exciting. So here's my first review for Atlanta United. 2-1 loss to New York Red Bulls. You gotta take with the good with the bad here, mainly because Red Bulls did win the Eastern Conference last year, so it's kind of like, okay, we're facing a really good team, so it's gonna be a tough game. And honestly, for most of the first half, we dominated. They had, I think, one or two decent chances, and one of them, like probably their best chance of the half, was actually ended up being a missed kick. So they really didn't get a whole lot of chances, and even if there were, it was mainly because we had given the ball away or something like that. It was never because they won the ball and then they moved the ball around and they worked something. It was always they won the ball, they were on the counterattack because we had so much possession. We just dominated the play. Second half, we did same thing. We dominated most of the second half, but then they made a couple subs. They brought in some fresh legs, and at that point, it started to change. I'm not sure who he was. I think his name's Etienne. I don't know how you pronounce it. But as soon as they brought him on, he changed the game for them. Because really all they had going for was Bradley Wright Phillips. As soon as they brought this Etienne guy on, I don't really know the other players because I don't follow the MLS until now. But as soon as they brought him on, he just had so much going forward that it added to what Bradley Wright Phillips was already providing. So at that point, that's when we ended up on the back foot, and now we're under pressure. We're under pressure. The first goal goes in, and now they've got momentum. Then they get the second goal, and then red card, which I'll talk about in a second. And now all of a sudden, now we're struggling. And honestly, even at that point, when we're a goal down, and now we're down to 10 men, even then, it still felt like we could possibly get something out of this game. Just because of how, I mean, it's our first game, but we're playing with confidence. We're playing with this confidence like we know what we're doing. We've been in the MLS this whole time. I think that was the most positive thing about this game, is just watching our players that feel like they know what they're doing. Some of the problem with that, though, that comes with that, is because our play is kind of confident and we play very, we move the ball around, we pass it back and forth. We're not trying to go direct, direct, direct. That actually kind of hurts us a little bit because teams in MLS, for what I've seen, I've only seen a few games, but most of those games I see a lot of direct. I see a lot of long ball, go, 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 go. With us, it felt like it was a lot of possession, draw them out, try to get them coming forward, and then send the long ball over the top. So it was very slow, slow, and then quick. Kind of almost like a Barcelona type feel, with the moving around the back and then quick boom on the forward attack. But that's, maybe that's just because I want to compare it to something overseas. But yeah, it did at times feel a little bit slow, but when we got forward, we were moving the ball around really well, but we were also reluctant to take that final shot because we wanted to keep moving the ball. And it felt like just have a shot and maybe something will happen. But then in the second half, when we went down a goal, then it was like that's when they were having shots. And yeah, you could kind of see why they don't normally have shots because the shots weren't all that great. But Anyway, that's about it as far as the overall play goes. As far as the goals, I mean, the first one for us was brilliant. A great cross from Mears across over the head of the defenders, and then aside his back post, taps it away, nice and easy. And then their first goal, didn't really get to see it because we were trying to see it, and all the goals ended up being on the other side of the field from where I was sitting. I was behind the goal where none of the goals happened. So we were trying to look at the board behind us to see, okay, let's see the replay of that, what led to the corner. And then as soon as I turn around, the ball's in the air, hitting the head of the guy that headed it in. I'm just like, what happened? I missed it. So I didn't really get to see the first one. The second one, though, it was just simple, like I said, very direct. Just pass, move the ball behind the defense. I can't remember. I think it was Mears that dove in, but at that point the guy was behind him. Little back heel to another player, and it was across the goal. And I think the defender that came in, Walks. He ended up getting credited with the own goal. So it was one of those things where just simple little play from Red Bulls, and that's all it took. So overall, I still think though that we looked the better team. It just those few little defensive mistakes and the changes that Red Bulls make were very smart, and they've been in the league longer than us, so they know how to affect a game. They know what subs to make. This was our first MLS game. The subs we made didn't really change much, and if it did, it was, it wasn't the right changes that we needed. So, but overall, I was happy. On to the one part of the game that we can't control, unfortunately. The referees tonight were terrible, and I say that knowing that they should be terrible because the refs in the Premier League are awful, and they're actually probably some of the best referees in the world. So I know going to an MLS game that we're going to get some god-awful referees, but holy shit, this was bad. It was so bad. It was like, I don't know, I guess because they're bigger and stronger, like they get to knock us off the ball a bit better, but then it feels like they dive so much, and the referees just fall for it every time. And it's one of those things where when you're watching on TV, sometimes it can look like a dive, and it's just like, oh, well, you watch the replay, oh, it's not a dive. I'm right there. I'm watching as our guy slides in, and the guy goes, and flops to the ground, and the ref just gives him the foul. I'm just like, what is going on? And it's so funny, it's not funny, it's actually really frustrating, but it's strange to watch a challenge come in, and there's no call, and then the same type of challenge goes in, and then there is a call. It's so strange to see handball after handball after handball, and then we're on our attack, and the ball bounces up into his arm, and it's a handball. It's just like, what? And honestly, the one I'm talking about ends up being the most frustrating part of the game. Ball bounced up, hit him in the arm, handball. And at that point, one of their guys goes down with some sort of cramp. Possibly, at that point they were a goal up, so they were wasting time left and right. And one of our guys comes up to him, and I didn't really see what happened at first. Watched the replay. It looked like he kind of gave him like a little nudge with his foot. Like if you were trying to get somebody's attention and they're on the ground, you just give them a little nudge, like, hey. And the referee gives him a red card for it. Why? I think I know why. It's because these refs are idiots, and they're emotional idiots at that. And that's the most frustrating thing in the world for me, is whenever a referee lets his emotions get the better of him, lets his emotions affect his decision, that's awful. And that's going to be the most frustrating thing, because honestly, listening to the crowd, obviously we're very passionate about our team right now, because we want to get behind, unite and conquer is our tagline, because we're supporters. We want to see our team do well. We want to get behind them. And so whenever the referee's making bad calls, there's going to be a lot of booing. Even if there isn't bad calls, sometimes the fans that don't understand the game as well will still boo. And as a referee, if you can't take it, find a different job, because you're going to get booed. And if you're going to let that affect your decision enough to the point where a guy nudges some other guy with his foot, no malice in it. There was nothing in it. It wasn't like he kicked him. It wasn't like he, kicked him out of frustration or was like, get off the ground. It was just a simple tap. And you're going to give him a red card for that? Probably because the fans are booing at you? And, I'm going to show them. I'm going to throw off one of their players. That's stupid. I don't know if that was his reasoning, but I honestly, watching the replay, I couldn't see any other reason to give a red card for that. Like, it's got to be one of the softest reds, straight reds, I've ever seen in my life. And I, I'm just gonna say, look, if this is how refs are gonna be in the MLS, we're gonna have a tough time because we're a small team. So a lot of these teams that are big and strong and fast are gonna knock us all over the place, and we're not gonna be. If the refs aren't gonna call anything, we can't deal with that. And if we get frustrated at the refs, if they're gonna start throwing our players off because they're pissed at us, how are we gonna deal with that? It's not like we can just shut up because we're fans. We're gonna get behind our team. We're gonna boo the refs if they make bad calls. The refs should deal with it. The refs should, first of all, the refs should be making the right calls. They should not be making as many mistakes as the ref made tonight. But also, they should learn to take it because that's just what happens in sports. That's what happens. Honestly, like I've seen high school refs that are better because I coach a high school team, and I've seen refs there. A lot of them are really bad. I've seen better refs at a high school game than I saw at the game tonight, and that's embarrassing. So done talking about refs. Let's talk about player by player. Um, you're gonna have to excuse me because I know some of these players, but a lot of them I have no clue who they are, so I gotta like remember their names. We went with a 4-1-4-1 tonight. I think that's kind of what it looked like. With you have Garza, uh, Perez, Parkhurst, and Mears as the back four. Carmona, the guy that got the red, was the center defensive mid. Almiron and Gressel were the center mids. Villalba, I think that's how you say his name. Villalba and Assad were the left and or right and left mids respectively, and then Martinez was up top. So going player by player, first of all, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. It's either Can or Khan. The keeper tonight, really good. Obviously, we've got Brad Guzan coming in as soon as Middlesbrough are done with with their season. But watching him tonight, he's pretty good. The two goals, the header probably could have gotten there. The own goal, not much he could have done about. But there was one where ball comes across and it's pretty much a one-on-one situation. The guy puts it up high, and obviously if he put it low, maybe would have been a bit better. But it had to be a reaction save, and he got to it and touched it over. It was a very good save. And overall, I mean, he's very calm whenever he gets the ball. He's easy with his feet. He touches it wide, finds a good pass most of the time. It wasn't until the end of the game where he was starting to get rushed a little bit. That's when the passes started to falter. But for the most part, I mean, his passing's good. He makes good saves. He's quick. He looks like a good keeper. And honestly, I like that because if Guzan was coming in and he's easily the best keeper, it would be way too easy. So the fact that he has to fight for his place with this guy who is pretty good himself, that makes it more exciting. It makes it where they have to compete and they have to make each other better. Um, but yeah, I honestly overall was pleased with his performance. Garza had a pretty good game overall. He was probably the most involved because we seem to love to go down the left side a lot. Um, but for the most part, this is kind of the team overall. It kind of felt like we were moving the ball short a whole lot. When it felt like they're holding such a high line, it feels like all you really have to do is just play it over the top and just let them run. Um, so a lot of that, a lot of my issue with Garza was more an issue with just our style of play. It was very short, 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 and because Red Bulls press so high and so many, like it was three of our players and then there are five Red Bull players right there, and so that passing oftentimes would turn into a mistake, and now they're coming at us. So I don't know if that was him or if that was just what Tata wants them to do, but I felt like he was part of that little trio over there. It was like him, Assad, and then I think Almiron, who were all kind of passing right there and just giving the ball away a little bit too much. But defensively, he did well. He works back very hard, maybe a little too aggressive at times, and not that that's a bad thing, but there are times whenever you come flying in that all they have to do is cut and you're beat. So there were a couple times where it felt like that might happen, but overall he was good defensively. Parkhurst and Gonzalez Perez in the middle, honestly really good, both of them. Perez went out with and looked like a cramp in the second half. He had to get subbed for, I think, yeah, walks. So, I don't know. Hopefully it's not bad because honestly, they're both really good. they had some difficulty, or they had some difficult opponents to go up against. So the fact that they managed to hold their own, they looked very calm. They moved the ball around very well. A couple times they were called upon to send that long ball whenever we're trying to get forward. Somebody's making a run. They send a very good long ball most of the time. Honestly, kind of reminded me of John Terry a little bit, David Luiz, just how they play. Of course, I want to bring it back to Chelsea, but you know. But yeah, honestly, defensively they did very well. They had to deal with a lot of players running at them because our midfield was pushed up and then we lost the ball, and so now it's coming right at the defense. But they handled the pressure very well, and honestly, until the end of the second half, like I said, when they brought the Etienne guy on, up until that point they pretty much didn't let anything by them. There was hardly a chance. So really good from them. Mears on the right back looked pretty good. He looks very attack minded though, and that would be my only thing. I didn't really see him. Maybe because Red Bulls like to go down the right side a lot. Maybe he didn't have a whole lot to do. But honestly, I remember him more for going forward and just attacking down that right side alongside of Villalba. Just those two kind of taking on that right side. They were always in a lot of space. That's what I know him for from tonight's game. So I don't know how his defense is because he didn't have a whole lot to do defensively. But I mean, he sent in the cross for the assist on our goal. So he looks a solid player. Very good on the ball. He looks fast and strong. So love to see more from him. Carmona, like I said, got the red card, but don't think it was deserved. Honestly, he looks like a good center defensive mid. He's always working back, trying to win the ball. He's always putting pressure on anybody who has the ball in the midfield. So he really does well that way. I would say my only problem with him is that going forward, it feels like his passes were kind of 50-50. Like sometimes his pass would be good, sometimes his pass would be off. So not sure how that is. If that was just some of the mistakes were happening because he was under so much pressure. But overall, I was happy with his performance, mainly because he did so much for us defensively, and he was kind of that outlet option for the defense whenever they were putting a high press. He was always in the right space to where one of our center backs had somebody to play to. So that was really nice. Almiron and Gressel in the middle, both of them played pretty well. Gressel didn't really notice as much as Almiron, but he did okay working both sides. Just I don't really remember a lot from him. Whereas Almiron, whenever he's near the ball, he wants to be on it. He wants to create something. Almost had a goal in the second half. Tried to chip the keeper. Keeper honestly did well there. But overall, I mean, he's just very quick. He's got quick feet. Moves the ball quickly. Good left foot on him, just on his cross. Watching him take it out the left wing, and then send a nice driven ball inside. He looks probably our most creative player of all of the midfielders. Maybe that was just tonight. Maybe some of the other ones didn't step up. But honestly, just watching him, I wanted him to get on the ball because whenever he was on the ball, it felt like something was about to happen. It felt like he was about to create something. The only problem I do have with him is sometimes he doesn't pick his head up. And so he dribbles, and he's dribbling into pressure because he doesn't see anything else. He doesn't see the people around him. So I will say, he needs to pick his head up a bit more and find those good passes. Our wings, Assad and Villalba. Of the two, obviously Assad I know a bit more just because, like I said, we were going down the left side a lot, and they were coming down the right side a lot. So he was the one mainly involved. Villalba, though, did some good stuff here and there. But near the end of the game, he was definitely, of the two, he was definitely the one that was running out of pace a lot sooner. But Assad, he worked hard both sides. He got up and back. So that was really nice to see that we have a wing who's willing to work both sides of the ball. Because there are so many times where I feel like Garza's having to pick up either the forward that's come over or he's picking up a midfielder that's made a run in. And so I'm just like, well, what about the wing? And here comes Assad just making a run back, getting behind the ball, putting pressure on somebody. So he does a good job of working up and down the line, and that's nice to see. Anytime you've got a wing that's willing to do that, that's willing to do that much work, that's a rarity. Most of the time if you have a wing, they want to just go forward or they just want to stay back and they don't want to push up at all. So the fact that he's willing to do both and make the runs, hopefully he can keep that up all season because if that was just like a one-game thing, that would be disappointing. And then up top, Martinez looks pretty good. He had kind of a hard time of it just because both of the center backs were constantly on him. And obviously, he's smaller, so that's one of the problems he had. But honestly, watching him, it's like his size doesn't matter to him. Just because he's so. He first of all, he times his jumps very well, so he manages to get up there with those guys that are taller than him. But he also he works so hard, just moving from side to side, that it's almost like his size doesn't matter at all. However, it does matter whenever you're the lone striker. And I would say that's my only problem is just he's not a target man. Because even if he does win that header, he's not winning it and then holding on to it. He's winning it by flicking it on because he's jumped up perfectly and timed it and flicked it on. So you need another striker up there with him if that's going to happen. But because he was the lone striker tonight, it was hard to find him. Whenever we could find him, it ended up either flicked on to the keeper or it's headed backwards, or one of the defenders is on it, or if it's over the top, one of the defenders is bullying him off of it because he's smaller. But he works hard, and I love the fact that he's working hard. I hope that continues. I hope that Martino sees that he needs somebody up there with him, because I think you have two strikers and then you let them work well together. You let Martinez and maybe Jones up there with him. Jones being more of the tall, the build, the hold up play, and then Martinez is the one making the runs off him, the one winning the balls and flicking it on to him or something like that. I think two strikers would really work with Martinez, but as the lone striker, I think he struggles a little bit. And then on to the subs. Most of the subs didn't come till much later. So it was kind of strange just seeing, especially after the equalizer, which happened I think in like the 75th minute. I have it right here, 76th. At that point, it was kind of like, okay, well, let's get some subs on, let's change the game a little bit. But he didn't make the subs until 5 minutes later, and then he has to make one because of an injury. He brings on Larentowicz. I'm gonna have to learn how to say his name. This didn't really see much from him. Honestly, he came on for Gressel, so he kind of became more of a defensive mid to take Carmona's position. Because did he? No, wait, that was later. Never mind. He was kind of like the other center mid alongside Almiron. I don't know. He seemed a bit more defensive than Gressel was. He seemed like he was a lot further back. And he just got beat one too many times for me. If you're going to be that center defensive mid, you can't get beat. You've got to stand your ground. You've got to make sure they don't get behind you. And it was just so easy to get past him. It's like he wasn't up to the speed. So, I don't know. I didn't see a whole lot from him. And then Jones came on later for Villalba just to give us two up top to kind of, add a bit more into our attack. And I think at that point it was kind of a Assad on the right and Almiron on the left with, who are they? Carmona and Larentowicz in the middle. So at that point it was kind of a 4-4-2, and honestly that's when we started looking a lot more dangerous. But then the red card happens and it makes it even harder for us to get into it. And then on top of that, the referee's making bad calls and they're wasting time, so it's hard for us to get a momentum going. But all in all, as a team performance goes, for our first game in the MLS, our introduction to it, we had to play the reigning champs from the East Division. This was a good start. 2-1 loss at home is frustrating, but there are a lot of positives to take from this game. There's a lot that you can look at and say, okay, well, we're learning. We're learning about our players. We're learning about what positions need to be played. We're learning formation stuff. We're learning from this. And obviously having a manager like Martino, he knows the game. He knows what he's doing. I'm hoping to see maybe some changes for the next game. I'm hoping that he looks at the mistakes that were made. He looks at some of the players and looks at it and says, okay, well, here's what we did well. Here's what we didn't do well. And so makes the changes for the next game that are necessary to kind of pick up from this one and say, okay, let's just keep the momentum. A lot of momentum, a lot of energy from the fan base, from the players. There's a lot of energy overall about this club. So I just hope we can take that into the next game and say, okay, one loss doesn't change anything. We're still here to stay. We're still here, and we're going to do everything we can to really show up in this league. We're not just going to be, the introductory club. Okay, yeah, well, who cares about them? No, we want teams to have to take us seriously. And honestly, I think Red Bulls had to take us seriously. In the first half, they weren't really involved. And I have to wonder how much the manager at halftime had to say to them, hey, let's buck up. Because honestly, we dominated that first half. And just that half alone, obviously, it doesn't make up the whole game. You have to play the full 90 minutes. You can't just look at 45. But you look at that 45 and you can say, we're a real team. We're not just, just another team that's being introduced to the league. No, we mean something. We matter. And I love the fact that we got to show that tonight. I love the fact that we got to show this is what we're here for. This is what we came to see. We came to see good quality play, and I hope that continues. Obviously, I did mention some of the issues that we're having, just as far as some of it's a little bit too easy, some of it's a little bit too relaxed. Sometimes we're not getting forward quick enough. But overall, I mean, it's a very good setup. I think we've got a lot of players. Some of the players that a lot of people are excited about. Obviously, one is Andrew Carlton. Um, just some of the homegrown players that everybody's excited about. I haven't really gotten a chance to see them yet, but I hope as the season goes on, they start getting introduced, they start getting some playing time, and as we get accustomed to the league and the style of play in this league, I think we can really grow as a club and really start to take it to other clubs and really show them what we're made of. So unite and conquer, all that good stuff. It's an exciting season. It's very first season, and things are already looking really, really high. Um, I can't wait for us to move to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium because honestly, Bobby Dodd, well, not bad. It's just it's a college football stadium. You can tell just how small the field is, how small the stadium kind of is, and then looking at Mercedes-Benz, just like that. That's a professional stadium right there. So I'm really excited. I hope you guys are too. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Who's your man of the match? All that stuff. Let me know. We can talk about it and discuss. Leave a like and subscribe to future Atlanta United reviews. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.